loud. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is to share my screen because I would like you to see the PowerPoint presentation that we've put together to highlight the award winners. And I'd also like to be able to introduce Kim to you. So here we go. Can you guys also see this participant screen? Maybe that's kind of a little irritation. I'll just move this over here. So as we get started today, just a quick reminder that you're all on mute to avoid background noise. When your artwork appears, please unmute yourself if you'd like to say a few words about your work. Each artist will have about a minute or so to speak, not too much longer than that, just because we're gonna try to get through the whole show, which is 90 works. So I'll also mention the speaker view that will help you see the speakers more easily. And I wanted to start by just really saying welcome, because it's a MarinMOCA tradition during all of our exhibitions to open with a reception. And especially for member shows, we've really loved it when the juror will walk through the show with us and talk about what he or she has seen, why they selected works, why they selected awards, and really share with us what, as a gallerist or a scholar or a museum curator, what they're looking for in artwork today. So it's a great way to kind of enrich our understanding of why certain work gets exhibited and why certain work receives awards. And so we're hoping to accomplish that a little bit today. So it's my great pleasure now to introduce to you. Okay, why is that not going forward? Okay, Kim Eagle-Smith. So Kim is a gallerist who's been having progressively more important roles over time. He graduated from UC Berkeley, and then he worked at various San Francisco art galleries before he opened his own gallery in 1997. And after 23 years in downtown San Francisco, we're so pleased that he moved his gallery to Marin the year before last and is now in Mill Valley. And it's a wonderful place that you can visit. You can see it reflected, basically right behind him. And he represents artists both nationally and locally, and has a special expertise in exhibitions of historical movements, such as the abstract expressionism and San Francisco Bay Area figurative group. And I think he would be a wonderful curator for us to consider for a Bay Area figurative show sometime in the future. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim to just say hi to us and kind of give us his overall impressions of the exhibit.
Well, how do you do? It's a pleasure to be here. My overall impressions of the exhibition was that it was extremely varied, even though there was a theme, although the theme was kind of open, at least until the lockdown occurred, and then everybody sort of got in the game, if you will. I thought that every artist that I can recall in that exhibition, all 90 submissions were earnest and serious offerings to the fine art community. And I was very gratified to see that. So thank you all for submitting your works. It was
Thanks,
great.
Kim. And just as a reminder, every artist did get to submit a work, and Kim selected the award. So let's look at the award art and kind of hear from him in terms of what he saw that was of interest. And we will start with, we will start with Lori Blesson, her work called May Even.
Yeah, I responded to this work. I believe it's a monoprint. I just thought that it had a beautiful atmospheric quality, very subtle layering of palette, even though the palette was predominantly one color in yellow, but it was many shades of yellow. And I thought that the composition was essential. That is to say, every element in the composition had to be there. You couldn't remove anything that would ruin the balance. And yet it was relatively minimal compositionally. It relied a great deal on atmospherics and color. But there was just enough form there to break that up and in a very balanced way.
Thank you. And Lori, are you on the line with us today?
And I am honored to be here, and thank you for the kind words, Kim. It is a monotype print, and I do work very layered on a plexiglass, so I can see what's happening sort of underneath it as I go along. This piece really spoke to me for this show because of the figure that really just kind of appeared. Honestly, I did not seek out a figure, but
Nor did I interpret it as a figure.
Okay. That's funny because I had in my mind for weeks, oh, I should really try some figurative work. And I never start with an idea in mind other than a feeling, and usually that starts with color. I try and say a lot without using a whole lot of confusion. I like to keep things simple and pretty straightforward with the color, but I do love to work with color.
Yeah.
Do you do your own printing?
Yes.
Oh, very.
Yes, I work at the Graphic Arts Workshop in San Francisco. They have a large press there, which I'm working. I've maxed out the press, so now I'm looking for a bigger one. But this is 27 by, let's see, I think it's 27.
40 by 27.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I forgot.
Okay, well, Lori, thank you very much. And we're going to move on to another honorable mention award, which was given to Barbara Cooley for Dead Cactus, Coffin number 5.
Well, this piece spoke out to me right away. As a young curator in the 70s and 80s, I was a big fan of a New York artist, a self-taught artist named Joseph Cornell, who lived in New York, and he roamed the city looking for repurposed objects that he would construct in these boxes, and they could be very loosely biographic or autobiographic, but he always left it pretty mysterious. And I got the same kind of response. I had the same kind of response to Ms. Coley's work, and it had just the right amount of intrigue and the macabre that anyhow it was one of the pieces that drew my attention right away.
Great. And Barbara, are you with us tonight? Yeah. I know Barbara was thrilled with this award. I saw her in the gallery today. So I think she was planning to join us.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Barbara. Yeah. Would you like to say a few words about your piece?
Well, it's actually, this piece is somewhat part of a series of pieces that focus on plants being a major subject in the piece. And I think it's real timely now with environmental issues and then also the coffin as far as, what's been happening with the pandemic. But the process on these pieces is very insightful for me, finding pieces that will say what I want a piece to say. And I am always learning, kind of listening to objects that I find, or what people have to say about objects when I share them. So it's really an enjoyable process for me making the pieces and having worked on that series.
Well, thank you, Barbara. Yeah, it's fascinating. This one needs to be seen in person to appreciate the details. We're going to go on now to our next honorable mention, which is Calyx number 8 by Nini Lyon.
Well, I was drawn to this piece because what isn't there is just as important as what is there. It was a lovely form. It's true ceramic sculpture. It obviously isn't intended to have any kind of functional qualities. The immediate things were the beauty of the glaze and the color of the glaze. But I was really struck by the lyrical quality of the form and the use of negative space. So I like this piece very much.
Yeah. Nini, are you with us?
I am. I'm so honored to be here. And what you just said is so interesting, because as this series has evolved for me, it has become more and more about the negative space. I'm trying to see just how much I can remove and still have an intact ceramic piece. And I'm particularly happy with this one. And I end up with a spiral of clay that then, as I work it and remove things, it evolves into what I see as sort of a dance of life. And anyway.
Nini, I want to thank you for trusting us. The last time Nini entered a show, we broke her piece. And she presented this work to me with a smile, and she trusted that we would take care of it. And I'm just so glad that she did not write us off.
Oh, well, no, I would never write you off.
Okay, well, the next honorable mention is Aftermath by Gloria Matuszewski.
Yeah, this is a really, I think this piece, as much as anything in the show, captures the angst and psychology of being in lockdown and looking forward to our liberation. I actually missed this piece until the third time around, and I don't know why something caught my eye, and I got up close, and then I started to notice that it was all little squares with the counting of the days by 1, 2, 3, 4 and across, as if you were writing it on the wall of a desert isle that you've been marooned to, or in a cell, counting the days until you can get out of there. And it just it really got to me. So kudos to Gloria for
kudos, Gloria. Gloria, are you with us?
I am.
Oh,
can
good.
you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. It's interesting to hear your response, Kim. For me, a lot of this piece was about all the numbers that we've been hearing. You know, the number of people who've died, and the number of people who are unemployed. And just this hard, you know, here we are sheltering in place, and we've got all these numbers that they're just numbers, or it's like the numbers magnify the realities that are going on. As the numbers grow, you know, the time gets more longer. And then as the election was happening, the numbers also, or the lines or the markings became also how many people voted for Biden, how many voted for 45. You know, so it got, all these numbers were at me. So that's why it's titled Aftermath. And then the flower came, the dandelion, because I wanted it to be more about a positive. It wasn't just, you know, there has to be a reason for all of this stuff. So I'm hoping it reflects the dandelion of a change and a shifting of consciousness with seeds of hope and healing. And so that's, it was an unusual piece for me. It's like, it started out as just a pencil work, but the black wasn't strong enough. So I needed to paint it. So this is like a very different piece for me.
Thank you, Gloria. Yeah, I think you've really created a piece of real meaning and significance that needs to be looked at up close.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. It was a wonderful piece.
So we have another honorable mention called One Hit Wonder by Lee Nisbet.
Well, I'm a sucker for assemblage. I love it. And this to me, it made me smile and laugh out loud. It was kind of I mean, it's an extremely high level of craft. And it was kind of in the midst of all this pandemic reaction and the fires and so on, and our global predicament. This sort of was comic relief for me, and at the same time, a really good piece of sculpture. So, thank you for creating this.
Lee, I know you're on the call. Do you want to say something about your work?
Yes. First, thank you, Nancy and Kim, and thanks a lot, Kim. That's wonderful. You got it exactly what I meant. I don't know if anybody showed you. It does make a sound. It does have a one hit.
No, I assume it's the top hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just as the piece goes, it's a piece I made a couple of years ago, and the head where the symbols are was different. And I worked on it for quite a long time, never got satisfied, put it up in my crawl space in the attic, and kind of forgot about it because it just didn't work for me.
Is it kinetic?
Yeah, the very top, the little bar on the top, if you knock it over, it hits the symbols.
I see.
It's held on by a magnet, and you can take it on and play with it and stuff.
Well,
But anyway, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was cleaning out my garage for nothing else to do, and I ran across those little toy symbols, which I forgot I had. And the rest is history. It just worked. I took the old head off that I struggled on forever and never could get right. Put the symbols on, and I don't think right away, but over the summer, I've been messing with magnets, putting magnets on everything I can find. And I put the tube and the magnet on top of that piece, and it became the one hit wonder. And, you know.
well, anybody who knows Lee knows
when art works out, it's nice.
this sculpture really reflects your personality, Lee. So thank you for using humor.
I'll take that as a compliment.
That is a compliment. Okay, this is the last of the honorable mentions, and it's Wish You Were Here by Irene Schlesinger.
Yeah, this is a very interesting piece in that you're drawn to it from across the room because of the graphic quality of the skull against all that color. And then you're sucked into it visually by all that beautiful stitching. When I saw these, there were no title cards, no indication of who the artist was, or even the medium. And it's obvious when you're looking at an oil painting or even an acrylic painting. But is this needlepoint, or what is the?
Yeah, are you with us, Irene? It is embroidery. It's some kind of embroidery.
Embroidery.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's embroidery. So it's very intricate, very high level of craftsmanship, and yet it creates a very immediate iconographic expression of state of anxiety.
Yeah. Yep, thank you. And we're going to go on now to our third place winner, which is Hijas de la Tierra, Daughters of the Earth, by Luis Garcia.
Growing up in Arizona, New Mexico as a kid, I was always drawn to retablo paintings in Hispanic homes, and that's what drew me to this piece. It's not religious like retablo paintings, but it represents a recognition of lineage. It's almost like a tree of life with 3 generations of the women in here and growing out into the world. And I just thought it was a really good example of narrative painting, which I wanted to include something that of narrative into the show.
Great. And Luis, I think you're on the call. Would you like to tell us a little more about the painting?
Yes, thank you very much, Kim, and thank you to the museum. It's very much on point in that sense as far as a narrative painting. I wanted to do a painting to offset another painting that I had done about missing murdered Indigenous women. And I wanted to do something that kind of celebrated and did something in the opposite direction in that way. And I chose iconography or the imagery of these women that are from El Salvador, and they're Pachimalcas, a grouping of indigenous people. And the way that they're dressed in their regalia is that they're celebrating a festival of the flowers. And so I wanted to kind of demonstrate where I'm from also in some ways, but also what I talked about, basically about tradition and honoring and passing on that tradition, and just have a loving kind of portrait of how I feel, women kind of do these amazing or create these amazing moments for each other and also the world, and help us kind of keep those wonderful traditions moving forward. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. And I do consider myself very much a person who enjoys creating artwork that has some sort of narrative. So thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. And thank you for the honor.
My pleasure. They've been trying to kill painting for 100 years, but there's always a story to tell.
I think so, in everything, and so for me, I really appreciate just being a part of this and seeing the other artwork and how everybody's just expressing themselves too, because it's pretty amazing, just the broad range.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Luis. And we're moving on to our second place winner, which is Shelter in Place from the Pandemic by Phyllis Thielen.
Yeah, I don't think any piece of the show nailed the situation more than this piece. I was immediately drawn to the form from a distance. Obviously, the umbrella offering protection from bombardment of events, and then the sheets of paper that were leaning down from the top of the edge of the umbrella, and the questions and the image text and the strips of headlines and so on created a shelter from this storm, and it expressed that idea excellently.
Yes. Phyllis, are you with us? I don't know if she's here. I'm going to quickly scan our list. No, I don't think Phyllis is here. Okay. That means we will go on to our first place winner, which is a work by Gary Marsh called Charcoal in the Golden State.
Yeah, well, that says it all right there. It reminded me when I looked at it, I didn't even know actually because I didn't see the title, but it's this anxiety portrait emerging from remnants of something. It kind of reminded me of the charred remains of the Roman paintings from Pompeii being dug up, and it was just an arresting form to look at, and I kept going back to it over and over again. And to me, that without saying too much or being obvious, just captured the situation of our times.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Gary, would you like to share a little more about the piece? I think the materials you're using are interesting. Maybe you could describe those a bit.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate it. And yes, this is actually a repurposed canvas, I will call it, which is literally a cardboard box that was in a radiator spray shop of black paint that had been painted over and over and over again through the years. And it just seemed to be an excellent beginning point because I needed some depth that I could actually subtract from and scar to share what has been a horrific year. I mean, this is, yes, it's charcoal because of fires, but it's also the heaviness of, children and parents being separated, of obviously the fires, COVID and the losses, barriers being built between people, isolation. So it has been a very difficult year. Fortunately, today, my heart has been lifted. But we won't get political. But one of the points I'd like to make about the piece, even though this figure is obviously immersed in sorrow, he still has clear eyes, and we can see through, and we can come out the other end of all of these disasters. I think as an artist, we have a privilege and an obligation to address what happens in our world. So that being said, I think my next pieces, I hope to be much more happy. So thank you all. I did go see the show today. It was an excellent show.
Yeah, so as the first place winner, Gary will be joining last year's first place winner, Donna Wallace-Cohen, for a paired show upstairs in the second floor gallery as soon as July. We need to work it out with Gary, but that's the space we have reserved for this paired show. So it's a lovely benefit that he will be able to take advantage of.
And I thank you.
Yes, and we thank you. So the next thing we're going to do is we are actually going to attempt to look at the whole show. And the way we will do that is, first of all, by getting rid of this. I'm just going to move this down. We are going to go to our own website where we've got every single image in the exhibit is represented in our website. So if you have friends that really want to see the show, but they're a little bit concerned about how to do that safely, you can direct them to our website. So I'm just going to, name the work. Sorry about this, you guys. Going to name the work and the artist. And if the artist is on the phone, we'd love to hear just a few words about what you were thinking. This is Red, Red Poppies by Paula Asterland. The next one is Gilded Nebula Nest by Lucy Arnold. We've got America the Strong by Barbara Ball. Untitled by Colette Battaglia. Seen Red by Lynn Bergherm. Racing to Rise Above by Mimi Blakesley.
I'm here.
Oh, good, Mimi. Yeah, tell us a little bit about this piece.
So this was done doing the wet on wet technique of watercolors. And after I'd taken some classes with Carol Duchamp, and I used some tape to create areas of confinement, even though I really am a colorist if nothing else, and I tend to use bright colors. And for the first time, I was throwing in black, and the happiness is confined. I was influenced by the biological photos we kept seeing of the coronavirus. But it ended up being out of my imagination, but very suggestive of a sailboat racing, which I have a background in. So.
Great use of symbolism. And I do see those biological blooms happening too. Okay, we talked about Lori's work. Here it is again. And this is Singing by Janet Bogardus. We have Solitude in Violet by Joan Boozy. "2020 Blues by Lewis Bording. Under the Sea by Mia Brown. Meandering by Jan Bouchot. Caught in the Eddy by Dana Christensen. We've already talked about Barbara's work. Here's a better picture of it. Still by Mary Coman. Mary, are you with us? She's very modest.
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. Then would you have anything to say about this?
This was basically a piece that I did over the last year when everything has been so terrible, and it took forever to complete it because I would just wipe everything off after I completed a day's work, and then started again and wiped it off. And it was sort of a meditation of how to get through each day. And then I just stopped.
Sounds like a great strategy to me.
Yeah.
Thank you. And this is Reflections of San Geronimo Morning Glory by Dorlin Davis. Untitled by Pat Doherty. This is Peace by Jolly Etamad. Cool Breeze Samba by Janie Fritchie. Are you with us, Janie? This is Back to the Land by Laura Lee Fritz. This is actually fabric. This is a quilted fabric. We have Luis's beautiful painting. This is Change is Coming by Suzanne Goltz. All in This Together by Sarah Gorman Brown. Dreamer, A Portrait of Monica by Mary Ellen Garoy. This is by Corey Guzman Thornton, and it's titled Lemons and Silver Carafe. This is by Sonia Hammonds, and it's called Rust Belt. This is Frayed by Carol Hahn. Now and Then, actually this is called Water Song Now and Then by Teddy Hathaway. Oh, Teddy, do you want to say a few words? Okay. And this is Pipeline by Bernard Healy. Bernard, I think you're on the line.
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, okay. This is kind of like playing hooky for my, what I normally do. I usually do paintings from nature and that sort of thing. But in the pandemic, when I was home, I started doodling, and I finally finished about 7 of these. I just got going and was hard to stop. Anyway, I have a lot of fun doing them. So there again, I'm playing hooky.
Well, we love to see artists flexing their style and trying new things. And a lot of that happened this year. So thanks, Bernie.
You're welcome.
This is Downpour by Sarah Hessinger. Untitled by Michelle Hirsch. Undefined by Michael Hilton. Michael, I think you might be with us. Okay, maybe he had to drop off. We have Fire and Sun by Diane Hull. Conversations with Color by Barbara Jacobs. Looking for Spring by Colleen Johnson. Sheltering in Place by Ronnie Kaiser. Social Media, sort of spelled like Medea. Social Media by Gary Kell.
I'm here.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Social media is what I call a paintage. Combines my figure painting, cartooning, and vintage collage from the 1800s to 1930s, illustrated books and postage stamps. She's sitting on a beach of waves coming from in front of a 1950s California map. And she's kind of like a statue of the web. Medea being a deadly sorceress in Greek mythology. My work is kind of like like Phil Spector's wall of sound. I have wall of images, and you can look at it for days. But anyway,
yeah, you can look at it, but you better come and look at it soon because this painting's sold.
Thank you. Yes, I was thrilled that happened.
Congratulations, Gary. Okay, we now have Dreams by Marie Cragen. Mom's Night Off by Vivian Kroner. Singed by Kathleen Lack.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, so we did a lot of driving around up in the Sierras and up near Reading. And the forests were just decimated. And these are just sticks, just like a bunch of toothpicks out there. And it was devastating and beautiful at the same time because you could see some of the grasses coming up too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty powerful just to look at it.
It's destruction, but rebirth.
Pardon?
Destruction, but a hint of rebirth.
Right.
Thank you, Kathy. We've got If Wishes Were Horses by Patricia Leeds. Patricia, I think you're on the line. Okay. And we have A Neighborhood Roof by Linda Lau. We've looked at Nini's work already. We have View from the Inside, Perens Remembrance by Kareth Lisi. And Memories 2020 by Jane Liston. Angels Come in All Different Colors by Edith Lonergan. Edith, I think you're on the call. Do you want to share something about this piece?
Yes, I'm
We can hear you.
good. So I have been working with these eucalyptus leaves for years now, and they all look different, all the angels, because all the leaves are different. And last year, I come up with the idea, why don't I try to paint the leaves? And this is the result. And then I painted, of course, as you can see, all different colors. And it made me feel good to call and say, angels come in all colors.
Wonderful, Edith. Yeah, you should. The way this is exhibited in the museum is really stunning. So you need to see this in person. And we have The Brewing Storm in Bordeaux, France by Diana Lister.
So, thank you, Nancy.
Oh,
okay, sorry, I forgot to unmute myself.
Okay.
I generally don't paint anything with these dark tones. I use a lot of pastels, but this is taken from a photo I took in Bordeaux. And as I got into doing the painting, it got very, very dark. And you see the three figures. There is a storm brewing, but they're walking towards the light. So I suppose it's from some subconscious level that that this interpretation came.
Well, the mood is very strong, Diana. That's a success. Thank you. And then we have The Future of Good Ideas from Pat Margus. And the marketing department really loved this image, and we selected it as our lead image. Pat, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, you know, it went through a lot of different changes this past year, and because of the pandemic, and but I finally settled on the idea of ideas. And first of all, it started with the frame, because the frame is was handmade by a neuroscientist who studies the brain. So the whole painting encompasses the physical body. And then I went into the painting itself, which is the mind, the body, the spirit of me that's inside the science of the brain. So it's all very symbolic to me. And so then I think today was really kind of the culmination of this painting because of the inauguration, and which the eagle sort of represents our country and the power and strength of it. And the transparency that I'm hoping will come from all of this, which you can see in the wings, and all of the flowers are the good ideas that I'm hoping will be spread out to the world in the coming years.
That's great, Pat. Thank you so much for describing what was going on in your mind. And it's a beautiful painting to see in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we've talked about Gary's. Here's a slightly bigger image. I think you can see the face better, which is nice. This is Gloria's as well. And this image allows you to see the hash mark detail in every square, which is what really is very intriguing. This is Losing Our Hold by Barbara McLean. Glimpsing the Bay Bridge by Nancy McLennan.
Go ahead, speak up, tell me you're here.
Sorry.
Tell me you're here.
2020 Clockwork Orange by Beryl Miller. This is 11/7/20 by Linda Mueller. Here's Lee's One Hit Wonder again, with a little more detail. Shorebirds by Cecily O'Connor. Suspended by Sarah Ohala. Polar Bear by Linda Olive. Essence of Truth Looking West by William Otten.
Are you on live or is this a webinar?
No, it's a Zoom.
This is Fiesta in the Garden, a mosaic by Selena Pagani Toussignon.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, good. Tell us a little more about this piece.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I picked this piece because it was a stretch for me. And I feel that throughout these last few months, we have all been stretched a little bit beyond our limits. It's an outside mosaic, and I had to learn the techniques to make sure that it could be put outside, what glue to use, how to cure the terracotta dish, and then what to do with the grout, etc. But then, so that was one thing. It was a much bigger piece than what I'm used to do. And I'm attracted to birds. I like birds a lot. So I wanted like something happy to lift my mood a little bit. And then I was thinking a little more about the significance. And I know that birds use bird baths, you know, they drink water and so they replenish themselves. And I thought about the importance for us to take care of ourselves during this pandemic, that sometimes is hard for me. So, you know, it reminds me to focus and pay attention to that self-care. And so it kind of brings me back to basics.
Perfect. Another great example of learning something new during the pandemic year. Great. Okay, and this is Bridges of Isfahan by Shiva Pakdel.
Hi, Nancy, I'm here.
Hi, Shiva.
Hi. So Isfahan is a medieval city in Iran, and I travel and I go to Iran and I take a lot of pictures, and using digital techniques, you know, my intention is to repackage all the photography so I can shed a new light on the monuments and the art and all of that. And that's it.
Well, it's wonderful. But we also selected this piece, which is on our website. We just love the color and the digital component. We love to see multimedia work. So great job.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is Beginning by Sherry Petrini. A very large image, but it's a small painting. This is called Point of Existence by Wendy Ricks. The only piece of furniture art that was submitted in the show is called Limitless Refuge. I want you to see the rocket ship on top, by Carolyn Robbins.
Actually, the original title was Tucked Away, but I started to think about it and realized that, you know, I'm not really tucked away, that the piece itself made me, you know, break bounds, like engraving the surfaces of the drawers, to install the meteorites that you see on the bottom drawer, or the aquamarine, to create different hardware for the piece. It's, to me, a bridge between what I like to do, you know, artistically, and how I am an interior designer and often asked to use pretty traditional pieces. I don't think that people really bridge the art between interior design and fine art. And so I think I just rebelled during the pandemic.
This piece has a beautiful finish on it and really needs to be seen in person to be enjoyed. Thank you very much, Carolyn.
Thank you.
And we have Voice and Power by Lisa Redondi.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. This piece I made as a tribute and honor for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I was really quite devastated by her passing, and then even more after the swearing in process of her replacement. And I felt so powerless, and I chose a color palette. The 5 colors is called Obangsek in Korean, and traditional Korean colors that symbolizes balance and harmony. And I felt that our country was not so out of balance, and our harmony was so broken in the last many years, especially in the last 4 years. And so I felt like the only ways that I was able to really have voice and power was to vote. I chose the hemp cloth to sew onto the canvas because the hemp cloth in Korean was a traditionally used for mourning garments. And so it was just symbolizing that I was mourning her passing and mourning for our country. And I always love the kintsugi, the Japanese art that is a concept of restoration and remembering the beauty of brokenness. And so for me, I wanted to express that I still continue to have hope for the resilience of our country. And so I painted the gold cracks in it with some pigmented ink. I also was inspired by the Korean wrapping cloth called pojagi, the patchwork pojagi, which is a symbol of giving happiness to those who receive the gifts wrapped in the wrapping cloth. So I created sort of like this patchwork in the painting.
Lisa, we love learning more about how the influences in your heritage and in other Asian communities affects your artwork. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And we have by Hannah Rosenberg, Finding Nature.
Hi, everybody. This piece started very loose in the beginning with big gestural motions. And as the year went on and as things got crazier and more difficult, it got tighter and tighter and tighter and more detailed. I use a lot of, I use all recycled materials, mostly paper. So all the piecing done is mosaicked paper. And all the black work done is all applied thread. And the tediousness of putting it together and actually finishing it in time was quite a challenge. And I think it's definitely emblematic of how difficult the year has been and how my stress level has risen. And through all that, my goal was to find the beauty in the craziness and try to pull that out and to accent it, hence the accenting of the flowers and the natural elements in the black thread.
Well, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this piece. I think over time you will also view it just as a beautiful piece.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Hannah. Okay, and this is by Julia Ross, and it's called Blue Moon October 2020. And you see the outline of Mount Tamalpais. This is by Bill Russell, and it's called The Deluge.
I'm here.
Great, Bill. What would you like to tell us about this piece?
It is one of my more overtly political pieces. I believe global warming is real and that sea level rise is the here and now. So you see icebergs kind of invading our culture, our shores. There's a lot of iconography in the bottom there. Some of it more clear than others. There's Noah's Ark. Hopefully that's how we'll get out of this flood. The sirens on shore calling sailors ashore. The mythic Kraken is in there. The one that I like the most is in kind of in the lower right, just a slight reference to the Raft of Medusa by Jericho. I found that the story of that was significant to bring forward. And the only other thing I'll say is that I think Chester Arnold, I was looking at Chester Arnold's work a lot, and the way he uses landscape and political narratives. And so I pulled a little from there.
Well, great. You were definitely, this is a big undertaking, and you were one of very few artists to actually undertake something around climate change. So thank you.
Thank you
for that.
Yep.
And this is Welcome Home by Noel Ryan. The Butterfly Effect by Anna Rybot. Here is Irene's piece again. The Foraging Bird by Tim Sharman. Tim, are you with us? Okay. And then Fire by Kit Shepard. Kit, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I was struck, like Kathleen, by the damage of the fire. And we were driving by Sacramento when all the fires were going up there, and the sky was black, and the intensity, the heat. I just wanted to try and capture the feeling of that heat and burning.
Mm-hmm. Well, you did. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
And we have from Susan Shipley, we have Here Scout, her memorial to her dog. Landscape by Donna Solon. Introspection in Black and Orange by Charlene Steen. Not Even the King by Ashley Sumner. Land of Broken Dreams 2020 by Deborah Sullivan. Wildfires in California by Vera Ciccovanni.
I'm here.
Oh, good. Vera, would you like to talk about your work?
Well, I think it's sort of self-expressive, but I have to say that I was very, I guess, even traumatized by the wildfires in California. And my usual way of painting is when I start a painting, I don't have a specific direction. I just investigate the colors. But with this painting, it sort of took its own direction. It painted itself. I started out without an idea of the fire, and it just happened almost by itself.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And this is the Madonna of Enigma by the artist Hines.
Hi there.
Hey.
So this painting, I took it from Here and Now because when I was able to get back into my studio, I was able to get back to work on the things that I was really passionate about. And it seemed like I was on this direction, kind of coming back to my roots, my surrealistic roots. So the painting was actually created to have a kind of ambiguity. And anybody can look at it and create a story for it, but the intention was really to create a surrealistic painting that was kind of ambiguous and enigmatic. But at the same time, I was trying to paint it in a surrealistic but a Baroque kind of a style, hence all of the chiaroscuro. Also, I thought it resembled, for me, it resembled some of the old master Madonna paintings, Madonna and child paintings, in a kind of surreal kind of a way.
Well, art history is never far from your work. So thanks for explaining that, Heinz. And this piece also sold. And then we have Phyllis Thielen's work. And Our Own Game by Stephanie Thwaites. This is The World is on Fire by Donna Wallace Cohen. Gazing at the Heavens by Carolyn Wheeler. Glimpse in Blue by Judith Williams. This is our final image. It's Untitled by Doug Wilson. So I'm going to stop sharing and see if I can get all your faces back. There you are. So I think we took care of that hour very beautifully. I want to thank Kim Eagle-Smith for spending this time with us and sharing his thoughts and also getting to know us a little bit better.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it was really fun. Any final comments before we dismiss for our evenings?
You know, I wanted to make one comment in that I was really pleased that there was such a broad experience of, you know, climate change and fires in California and the pandemic and heritage and cultural heritage and stories. I mean, to me, that was the most exciting thing about the whole show, because it really gives you the diversity of what we've been through in this last year, but as well as how so many artists see these important issues. You know, so I just wanted to say that to me was the success of the show.
And I'm so glad you said Carolyn, because I was remiss in introducing Carolyn as the producer for this show. She was the volunteer producer, and all of our exhibits at MarinMOCA are led by a team of volunteers called the exhibition team. And I see many of you here tonight who are part of that team, and I want to thank you for your efforts and the great results.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nancy.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Beautiful work.